Who's been fueling this since day one, Joe? And then you lie to us about a bill that's going to do nothing to help our economic recovery, in my mind. But let's ask the expert, because he knows a lot more than I do. Chief economist, global strategist over at the Euro-Pacific Assessment Management, Peter Schiff. Peter, this was a long-fought battle. The Republicans, in my book, caved, and now the American people got stuck with a fiscal responsibility bill that's going to do jack squat when it comes to its title. And will it help our economy? I say no. You're the expert.
Well, absolutely will not help our economy. In fact, the only progress we've made is now we're closer to going over a fiscal cliff and having a real crisis, a debt crisis, not this contrived debt ceiling crisis. The debt ceiling was never the crisis. It was part of the solution. But they did away with that. As you said, they suspended the ceiling, and now the sky's the limit on debt, and debt is going to explode over the next several years. And as a result, we're ultimately going to have a sovereign debt and currency crisis. And if you think inflation is bad now, wait till you see how much worse it gets when the lenders don't want to continue to buy our bonds, and the only buyer is the Federal Reserve.
Yikes. I also understand that even though we avoided a big crisis, according to the mainstream media and Joe Biden, the U.S. may get a ding in our credit rating. Is that true?
Well, look, as far as I'm concerned, our credit rating should be junk right now. I think these rating agencies are asleep at the switch, just like they were, with the subprime mortgages. But what they're not considering is that when it comes to sovereign credit, you're not supposed to be grading the risk of default, but the risk of inflation, the risk that creditors see the value of the principal eroded because the government has so much debt and the tax base can't support it, that the central bank has to keep printing money. And that's what's going to happen. So every holder of U.S. Treasuries is going to lose, and the debt should be rated, junk status, not AAA or anywhere near there.
Peter, I ask you this a lot. I'll keep this easy. How will we recover from this as this moves forward? And I assume Biden and Republicans will agree with him, and they'll continue to spend like drunken sailors for the next 2 years or year and a half of his administration. What are we facing here?
Well, we're not going to recover. I mean, we're barely begun with this sickness. It's going to get much, much worse. Oh, no. We're not even going to begin the recovery until we really had a good taste of the crisis. We're going to have to see a collapse in our bond market, runaway inflation, because as long as we can continue borrowing and spending money, we're going to do it. We're not going to stop until the market forces us to stop by imposing a crisis, and that will be a currency crisis and sovereign debt crisis. And only after the crisis really comes to a climax will we potentially have the courage to finally do the right thing. But a lot of bad things are going to happen before our leaders get to the point where there's any kind of motivation to do that.
And that is a recession. As you've said for now about a year on this program, we're headed for one, and they just keep making bonehead decisions in our nation's capital that keep pushing us right in that direction. Peter, as always, thank you for your honesty. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on.
Yep, take care.